One. Hey everybody, if you love combat sports such as MMA, Kyokushin, boxing, kickboxing, and wrestling BJJ, make sure to hit the like, share, subscribe button to the Drewsperience channel, the fastest growing show on mixed martial arts, 20% everything else in pop culture and how combat sports or other sports have influenced pop culture on all platforms. Make sure, as I said, to like, share, subscribe. We'd like to say thank you to a few supporters who helped with the show. KRT Tips and Tricks, One Kyokushin, Real Talk with Scott Heaney and Shian Terry Burkett, Marshall Way Blog, Kyokushin Shuffle, and of course, Moments Management. And with that, my guest today, wow. Yeah, I know, I'm on fire.
That was actually amazing, bro.
And with that, today, my guest is, this guy is a blue chip off the block. I got to thank David Alverdi, an up-and-coming, not up-and-coming, he's a pro boxer who referred me to him. He is a great pro boxer.
Very good one.
Very good one. And he referred me to this new killer on the block. We have finally, look, I'm Jewish. To all my listeners and watchers, you know I'm Jewish. I go by the Hebrew hammer sometimes when I introduce myself. But we finally have, I believe, the Mashiach has listened to our wishes. We finally have a middleweight hope in Israeli mixed martial arts. He's undefeated at 6-0. He will be a contender and will be a future champion. He's the one, the only, weighing in at 185 pounds, the Israeli tank, Eli Aronov. Welcome to the Drewsperience, Eli.
Thank you very much, brother. You're rocking it, bro. You're like, whoo, man. You should be the next Bruce Buffer, bro.
You know what?
Crazy.
I think I'll have to send my CV in, but you know what? I have to say it's also the coffee. It's when I drink that coffee, it gives me that.
It's pump you. It's giving you the pump. Yeah.
It's the caffeine. But Eli, I really want to thank you so much for taking the time to come on. I've been really wanting to do this when I saw you, thanks to the referral from David, and you know, I love interviewing the prospects because you never know how their story unfolds, such as yours. I have a very high hopes for you, not to put pressure, but I do believe when I look at your profile, you're very focused. You have a very good mindset. And I always like to begin the show. Who is Eli Aronov before becoming the Israeli tank?
Just a simple guy, bro. I'm telling you this. Just a simple guy that does what he loves. Came out from, I live in Arad. You know what is Arad? It's like very, very small city in Israel. It's like, even in Israel, inside the small Israel, no one knows it. Almost no one knows it in Israel, inside Israel. So just a simple guy, bro, who loves what he's doing and work hard, bro. Just work hard, believe in myself, do what I love. That's all. And that's what got me to this place, and that's what will keep me until I will be a UFC middleweight champion, That's all.
You know it. But when you were growing up in Arad, did you have any influences in martial arts, like from movies, comic books, video games?
Yeah, so basically my mixed martial arts started like in 6 years old.
Okay.
Because my father came from Belarus, and when he lived there, he was a Jew over there, and he had some problems over there. And like in Russia, it's very, like martial arts is very famous in Russia. So he trained himself with judo and wrestling. And when we get here, I was a small kid, but I had a lot of like energy, And he started to think like, where should I put my kid so he will expend his energy for good things, not for bad things. So I started judo at the age of 6, and I was in judo 6 years. I trained in judo 6 years, and then they closed the judo. I've told you, Arad is a small city, and there was only one gym of judo in Arad, and the trainer left the city. He left it. So the judo was closed, and my father said like, oh, he cannot stop doing sport. Like he saw what this thing done for me. So he said like, I need to search for another place. He starts searching, and he find a very good Greco-Roman wrestling place, classic wrestling place. And then he just brought me there and told to the coach, he's not gonna leave. Take him. He will be here every day. Like he didn't ask me. He didn't ask me.
He
He didn't.
forced
My
you.
father didn't. It's like very Russian. No questions. You going there? You're gonna be there every day. Like there wasn't questions there. You know, in Russia, you don't ask questions. So he put me there, and I start training. At the beginning, it was, I remember this. It was like a little bit strange because you came from judo. You know, you ask for the gi, and then suddenly it's wrestling. You don't have the gi. Yeah. So a few things was a little bit different, but I remember this good. And even 1 year after 1 year, I trained in wrestling. I already became an Israeli champion, national
Oh.
champion. After 1 year, I was training. At the age of 13,
Did
I
you
became.
do Maccabee for Israel?
I've done few times, but not a lot because the Maccabi is for the adults, and I wrestled until the 18 years old. And 18 years old, it's not adults; it's like a junior. It's junior until 18, and the Maccabi is for the adults. But this year, I just spoke with my coach from Arad, and this year he signed me for the Maccabi. So I'm gonna be in the Maccabi in this year. You know, I always wrestling. I'm always doing wrestling, and I'm always training. So I'm basically always competing in wrestling, even these days. Like the Israeli, I just took the this year I took the second place in the Israeli national championship in freestyle, not Greco-Roman, in freestyle wrestling. So I'm always competing. Like I was the sixth time when I was in junior. I was a six-time national champion, 6 years in non-stop. Like I started from 13 and I until no, I started 12 and until 18 I was a Israeli national champion. 6 years.
Amazing.
So I basically grew up in wrestling. Like I was flying a lot to Russia for training camps, for competitions, the whole Europe, Russia, and that's what really I really started to be serious in mixed martial arts with wrestling. Like I was, I was waking up in the morning, went for training, finished the training very early morning, like 5 in the morning, waking up, went for training, 6:30, finished the training, get shower, food, and then went for school. Come back from school, went for evening training. For my whole my whole life, like from since 12 years old, that's how look my life. That's how my life was
That's
every day like
amazing.
this. Yeah.
What's even
This.
more, what I like also what you said, Eli, is the fact that when you said that you had a judo and wrestling background, and I always like to say when you're starting young, it is super important to get them into wrestling first, to get them used to being into uncomfortable situations. So are you appreciative of what your father saw to get you into grappling first?
Yeah, I really appreciate. I don't think my father, I know he didn't thought like I would become a professional mixed martial arts. He just wanted to for me to be, to chill out, to put all my energy in the training, and also he wanted to make sure I will be able to protect, to defend myself. But eventually I get to this. Yeah, I will explain. My thoughts is like, listen, if you've done, for example, wrestling or BJJ for a lot of years when you were a small kid, so this I will explain to you different. Wrestling and BJJ, it's very hard to learn and to close the gap in the late years, like in 20, 22, 23. It's very hard to, like, if someone wrestled from small age, there's no way you're gonna compare your level to his level at BJJ or wrestling. No way you're gonna compare the levels. But if someone done Muay Thai or striking, like kickboxing in the early ages of his life, so I think it will be much easier, let's say, to get to close the gap. And also there was a power difference. Like if you wrestled or done BJJ for the when since when you was kid, So you will have the power and the physics, to take him down or to hold him or stuff like that. But if you've done like kickbox or Muay Thai, you will need to work for a lot of years to have this kind of power like a wrestler or a grappler BJJ guy. You know what I'm saying? It's a different. It's very very different, and especially for MMA, it's very very important to start with wrestling or BJJ because look, I've came from wrestling and I started when I started my MMA career. I started with luta libre. You know what is luta libre?
Yes, Darren Till does it.
Yeah, it's actually it's BJJ without the gi. Like it's no gi BJJ. I will explain the little bit the history of it. In Brazil, you had the rich had the gi, the money for the gi, so they've done BJJ, and the poor guy, the favela guy, they didn't have the money for the gi, so they just done without a shirt, only only shirts, or the rash guard. So because they didn't have the money for the gi, it was expensive. So they call it luta libre. They've done it in the favelas a lot. So that's the history. And I started with luta libre. So at the beginning, I didn't done almost at all kickboxing or Muay Thai. And then only in the last, like, for example, 2-3 years, I started doing Muay Thai. I really started to put some time in it. And in this time, I train a lot of Muay Thai. I'm putting the work on my striking, because you need to be a perfect fighter. Like you need to be strong in every aspect of the game. So I started to put a lot of time in my Muay Thai trainings. Like I'm doing like 3 times a week Muay Thai, only Muay Thai, no MMA. I'm not speaking of MMA for striking for MMA or some kind of this. Like only Muay Thai, pure Muay Thai, 3 or 4 times a week because I want to get it improved. And my striking became very, very, very good. I can tell. I really can tell because I sparred with some really good strikers. I'm talking only about the strikers, not about the MMA, the grappling, and the wrestling. And my striking improved so much. Of course, there always room for growth, but I think it's much easier to not easier. It's reachable more to close the gap at the Muay Thai kickboxing than the grappling, wrestling, BJJ.
Yeah,
it's much harder. So also, look, take every normal guy. He knows how to throw a punch. Not that the technique will not be perfect, and but everyone knows how to punch. Basically, it's like it's natural for us. But to do BJJ, that's not basic for no one. Like the moves are to take someone down. That's not normal move for no one. That's much harder to understand and to learn. That's what I'm thinking.
Very, very true. So, so being from Israel, what really puzzles me is we have some Israeli prospects that come out, but they can never seem. But Israel, you would think of it in the Middle East, it's like an untapped hotspot. Why is it that you feel that there's not many Israeli fighters, considering that it's a Greco-Roman hotspot, a judo hotspot, and only now it's MMA slowly coming in. What do you think has taken it so long for Israel to be put on the map for combat sports?
Yeah, so I think there's a few explanations for this. Like the first one is it's not that popular in Israel. In Israel, what's popular is like soccer and judo start to be very popular. The MMA scene over here is just in this last few years, it became really bigger and bigger. And I think in more 10 years, we're going to see a lot of, because the Israeli guys, they are fighters and warriors from their born. Just because where we live, the life in Israel is not that simple. Like we are basically everyone should do army, and the life over here is always not that easy. So we have a lot of fighters in their nature, you know. So in the next 2 years, we want to have a lot of fighters. I think it's growing in Israel. But right now, we don't have enough people in the sport. We don't have the technology and the like in the USA, in Canada, in the Europe. It's we are a little bit behind. Not little bit, we are behind. Right
Mhm.
now, we are behind 100%. We don't have the enough the knowledge, coaches that much coaches with the whole knowledge. Like we have only 4 people that been in the UFC. So look, the you know what most important when you get to, for example, for a big gym in USA, I don't know, for example, Extreme Couture or American Top Team, let's say, okay, do you have a 100 people like on the mat that each one of them is a professional mixed martial arts? It's crazy, bro. This the you get to just from this you get to another level. You know, you have a lot of sparring partners, a lot of people to train with, to drill with, to work with, and everyone is serious. Everyone is trying to make everyone better. Over here in Israel, like we have our professional group. In my team is Spirit MMA. It's located in Beersheba. Spirit MMA.
Mhm.
It's one of the best teams in Israel. Like probably the best or first place or second place. We have another good gym in Hulon. I also train there sometimes. It's all everything is very small over here, so we know everyone knows everyone. So the gym over there and our gym is like one of the best. So and in our gym, like in our professional class, you have, let's say, for example, 20 people in our professional class, and from 20 people, everyone competing over there, but a lot of guys competing only in BJJ and actually professional mixed martial arts. Let's say you have like 5 people, 6 people, and look at the weight classes. Like I'm middleweight, I don't have another middleweight fighter. Like I have welterweight. I have like a guy, bantamweight, a guy lightweight, but that's not my weight, you know. And but I also we find the ways to work. We work hard, but still the difference are so big. But it's getting better. It's getting better and better. And the more years, like listen, my generation is like the first generation to like explode the MMA in Israel.
Mhm.
Like you see fighters like Natan Levy. Of course, Noah Lat is the older generation.
Yeah, he
He
was like
was
the
at the UFC.
first of the first.
Yeah, he's the first of the first. He's the veterans, you know. So you have like fighters right now. Natan Levy, of course, he's the only UFC fighter right now. You have Shimon Smotritsky, if you heard about him. He's fighting on the Contender Series in
Mhm.
August. He's Israeli friend of mine. We sparred a lot together. He's a good friend of mine.
What weight class is he
He's
again?
fighting in welterweight.
Okay,
Welterweight.
that's good. So we're getting some big boys finally. I like that.
Yeah, Shimon Smotritsky, his name. He's really good fighter. He helped me a lot in this training camp for the Mariusz fight. Me and him, I went. He is training in the gym in Hulon. The other gym I've told you that he is also one of the best in Israel. So he's training over there, and I went twice a week to there to spar with him, and he helped me a lot in the preparation for the fight in Mariusz.
Mhm.
So he's fighting next in August for the Contender Series. So hope he get the contract and he will be the second UFC fighter, second Israeli UFC fighter.
Mhm.
Yeah. So we have also, if you know Tyrell Abbasov, you know him. I don't know you should
The only
also
ones I know are you, Noad, and
Nathan.
Natan. That's it. But
So
I
we
but I
have
like that you're
also
mentioning these names.
we have also Tyrell Abbasov. Is really good fighter. Yanela Shmuz we have. It's also we have some names like it start to getting like more and more. Tyrell Abbasov is also a friend of mine. He's 5-0 if I'm not doing
Mhm.
a mistake. He won some good fights in Russia. He was fighting in Russia, like he was fighting in the league of the Eagle FC, the
Mhm.
Habib League. You know, he won there. he's really good. He's a Sambo Europe champion. Like he's a Sambo Europe champion of the world. It's crazy. Or world champion. I don't remember. I don't correctly remember. Or world champion or Europe champion. One of those. He's a crazy guy. His Sambo is next level. Like, and we have from our gym, from my gym, you have names like David Almayo. He's a brother of mine, crazy fighter, 5-1. Also a big name coming up. Working hard. We have a lot of names. It's getting bigger and bigger in Israel.
That's amazing to see. And I think it's really important because I believe if there's always an untapped market, and I always said it, because even my stepmom and my stepbrother, like I asked them this question because my step family, so as I was telling you before recording, my dad got remarried to a Moroccan, to a Jewish Moroccan woman, but who has a lot of family in Israel too. And I was always asking them, I said like, and now like I have the answer to that question, but like then they were asking me, they're like, will we see some fighters come out of Israel? Because they're like, because my stepmom was like telling me, she's like, I kind of want to understand the sport you do, but I don't understand it. But if there's an Israeli fighter or two that comes out, then maybe I'll start asking you questions. Same with my brother. And now we have
they have their, the connection. Suddenly they have the connection.
Exactly. Yeah. And with that, so this is like, so, obviously taking away from martial arts, obviously, I promised myself that when they watch this episode, talk a bit about Israeli life. I've been to Israel 4 times, and I'm going to tell you my favorite part of Israel. I love the north, like Haifa, where the Golan is. I love mountains. Tel Aviv,
it's amazing.
Mainstream. It's very, touristy. Jerusalem is beautiful. Just don't get lost in the quarters, whether it's the Jewish quarter, the Arab quarter, or the Christian quarter, because it's going to be like, you're going to be lost for days. The South, though, I know you're in Beersheba probably. I please don't hate me, but I just can't handle the heat in Beersheba. Like the heat in the South.
It's very hot. It's very hot. It's very hot, and it's all desert. Not a lot of crazy things to see, but we have the beautiful places in the nature. But you need to know. If you don't know, you won't find them. You need to know.
That was my problem.
But
that was my
Andrew,
problem.
next time you visit here, I will show you the beautiful of the south.
You have to. I've been to Eilat, but Eilat's such a tourist trap. It's like,
oh
man. Because I'll tell you, when I went to Israel the first time, I was 15 years old on an organized trip called Dorot. So we went to Eilat, and obviously it's like a tourist trap. Like there's a lot of there's all these like Israeli tourists there, but there's also a lot of European tourists. You see all these Russian billionaires that go there. Jordan, the country, is right across the way. It's beautiful, but it was way too hot. And then the worst thing is we had someone on our trip that put tanning oil on them, and the guide said, our guide who was Israeli said, don't put the tanning oil on here. The girl was like, no, I'm gonna do it. He's like, okay. He's like, you're gonna learn. And she barbecued. Like she literally had 3rd-degree burns, because the heat's dangerous. Like people don't realize the South is not a game. There's a reason why you guys don't like tourists. I'm sure you like tourists, but there's a reason why when they come, you're kind of like, we got to tell them.
You when tourists come to the South, you need to tell them, to prepare them, where they're heading to.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh, it's so true. But what's funny too is Beersheba. Not many people know. Well, all the Jews know this in Montreal. I'm in Quebec, so that's where I'm at. But Beersheba is a sister city with Montreal. So whenever Israelis come to Canada to Canada, it's because of the Beersheba connection. Did you know that actually?
No, I didn't know it.
Now you have a loophole when you come to Montreal. So you just like,
that's right.
Yeah. So, and then when you come here, I host you, you stay at my place, my door is always open for an Israeli brother.
Thank you very much, brother.
My step family will take care of you too. They're going to have you over for Shabbat dinner. My stepmom's going to be like, I want to meet this Eli. Can he come over? I'm joking, Diane. Don't hate me. I know I'm putting you on the spot here, but it's my stepmom. I love her. She's like my stepmom is, and I like sometimes poking fun at her, but for fun, we get along. But no, but I think what's crazy about the South, what's crazy about Israel is there's always something you pick up when you go there, whether it's in the South, Tel Aviv, Jerusalem, or the North.
Yeah, there's a lot. I always say Israel is, you have not a lot of things, but you have everything in small.
Mm-hmm.
You have desert, you have forest in the north, you have beautiful beaches. You have everything. You have everything in small.
It's
Great cities, big cities like Tel Aviv. That not that big, but it's like party night, nightlife, and all this stuff. But in small.
it's very small. For me, I like Haifa because of the Druzy. Like they're my favorite. Those are my favorite group of people, the Druzy. So
Yeah,
some people are going to watch this and they're going to ask, what are we talking about the Druzy? So how can we explain? Because there's a lot of minority groups in Israel. There's like the Druzy. There's the Israeli Arabs. There's like
a lot of
the
them. A lot
Baha'i.
of them.
So
A
let's talk
lot of
about the
them.
Druzy because they are a very interesting group because their religion is it's a mix
Yeah.
between Islam and Christianity, but they can't even tell you because it's so secretive.
No, 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 no. Don't call a Druzy a Muslim, and don't call a Druzy a Christian. It's a very bad mistake.
Okay, so I
Uh,
learned something new.
yeah. They have their religion. It's so unique. Actually, I don't really know a lot about their religion
Mm-hmm.
because they have a rule in their religion that the religion should stay in the family. Let's call it
Mm-hmm.
like only in the Druzy families. Like they don't like to go and tell everybody about the religion, all the stuff. I know a little bit from my friends, Druzy friends, who served with me in the army and stuff like that. But you don't, I don't know a lot. Uh,
Okay.
they do the Druzy. They have a connection to the ground.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have connection to let's say to some government or something like that. They only care for about the ground
They
where
live
they
on.
live. Yeah, the connection for the ground where they live, where the houses, their connection is for the ground. That's what I know. And also they're very kind people. They like to host people, and they're very loyalty, and they're very family. Like they
Oh
have
yeah.
the community in the Druzy community. Everyone know each other, and they are very nice persons,
They
nice
are.
people.
Oh, they are. Like I went to a run restaurant, I remember, and like we met like it was me and my dad, my stepmom and I, and we met like the most adorable little old Druzy family. I wanted to adopt the old man. He was so cute with his
And
mustache. And at one point, like my dad gave him a nice tip. So then I give
for
him
them,
some. Hmm?
also Druzy, for them is respect the old is very important.
Hmm.
Respect the old people. Like it's very important for them, and also the women.
Hmm.
Woman is should need to be very respectful for the woman.
Hmm.
Be careful what you said for the women's, because it's like if you saying something bad for their woman or something like that, it can end up with blood. It's
Oh.
very sensitive. This stuff in with it's the Druze.
Well, that didn't happen when I went. We just went to the
Yeah,
restaurant.
no,
They
no,
ser yeah.
because if you are nice to them, if you give them honor and the respect, they will give you the same for you, and they will host you the best.
The guy,
Best,
the, the guy
the
was
best
giving it.
food.
Yeah.
Food is the best. Druze food is very tasty. Is the best. They're very making very good food, and they're very loyalty and very nice people.
They put
Very
so
nice.
much love into their food, especially the Lebanese. That's like I always
Yeah.
say, I'm sorry to say it, but like listen, to everyone that's been to Tel Aviv and they think the Lebanese and the hotels are good. I'm sorry, you haven't tried Druzy Lebanese. Druze Lebanese is
Yeah.
different. It hits
One hundred
different.
percent. One. It hits different.
It hits
Yeah.
different. It's like,
Yeah.
and then like, so this is what happened at the restaurant. So my dad, so we're about to leave. My dad gives the Druzy a very good tip in shekels. I had some US dollars on me. And then I'm like, here. My dad's looking at me. Why did you give him that money? He's like, I just gave him a nice tip. And I'm like, because I want to adopt him. And he's like, well, you can't take him with you. He's gonna stay here because then his wife's gonna be alone. And it's like, and they need each other. And I'm like, but he was the most, he had like the mustache. He was like the little guy. Like he used to work in, he was
Yeah.
in
Of
the
course.
tank division for, I think he was
Yeah.
in the tank division. Like he was showing us his photos. He spoke broken Hebrew because my stepmom was interpreting between him
Hmm.
and us because a lot of them, okay, I'm sure they speak English, but the older ones, they don't. They only speak
They don't. Yeah.
Hebrew
They
and they
don't.
speak their own language.
Yeah. For sure.
It's
Yeah,
crazy. And then we went to the Baha'i Gardens. That was beautiful.
amazing. Yeah, amazing place. Amazing place.
The Golan is my favorite because like you get to see Syria from afar, and
Yeah.
as long as like it's quiet and calm there. So that's what I love about the north. You have Lebanon, but the north is like how would you describe the personalities of the people in Israel, like from the north to Jerusalem all the way to where the south is? Like how would you describe it?
Oh, you asked me to describe the Israeli people. It's hard.
Yeah.
It's really hard. I think like it's a combination of very like hot, lovely people
Mm-hmm.
with a little bit nervous because you live in Israel. You have to be nervous from all the stuff going on over here.
Mm-hmm.
A good people with a lot of good people, hot people, like they're really like hot. It's hot is two meanings. Like hot, they like to host you, they give you love, they like help you. And hot, it's also they get like getting mad, nervous, like crazy hot people
Oh
also.
yeah.
We are also like this. What we can do, it's living is in Israel, it's not that simple.
It really
But
isn't.
we are in the end, we are good people, like doing our best.
Yeah, it's very true. So now we take it back to martial arts because the show's about martial arts, but got a little
Yeah.
bit of culture in there. So you're now 6-0, and you're on the verge of I'd say you're on the verge of really getting on Dana White's Contender Series, or they're just gonna call you to say, hey, you want this fight on short notice. And how do you
Yeah.
feel about your career how do you feel about where your career is going? Um, do you feel it's gone the way you planned for it, or do you just take it as it goes with whatever experience comes?
It's a good question. Like I'm in a point. Let's say Mike Maynard, the matchmaker of the UFC,
Mm-hmm.
knows me already.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just say this. Uh, if you ask me, I still want to have another like maybe 2 or 3 fights before the UFC,
Mm-hmm.
because I do believe when the moment you get to the UFC, there's no room for fuck up. Sorry
No, you're
for
allowed to
the
swear.
word.
You could swear. It's okay. Be yourself,
Yeah,
bro. It's okay.
yeah. So there's no room for mistakes. Once you get to the UFC, you're fighting the highest of the highest level. That's first, and second, there's no room for mistake. Like you lose 2 fights, 3 fights, they kicking you out. There's no room for mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm still young. I'm 26 years old. I still
Mm-hmm.
think that I want to get a little bit more experience. Like if I get 2 3 more fights, for example, before the UFC, and then I will be, let's say, 8-0 or 9-0, and then another fight for the contender, and then it will be 9-0 or 10-0, and then like I'm getting to the UFC, it will be like my 11 or even 12. It will be a great fight. And I think that's the because I'm young. Like if I get to the UFC in age of 28, 29, 30, it's great. Look, you saw yesterday fights, like this night. You saw Glover Teixeira, 42 years old. He basically won the fight until the if it's get to the judges, he won the fight.
Oh, for sure.
He is 42 years old, bro. So why should I rush? Or I need experience is a big thing in MMA,
Mm-hmm.
because you have all this wrestling, BJJ, Muay Thai, and you need to mix them all together. So experience is a very important thing, and I do think and believe that I want to get a little bit more experience outside of the UFC. But who knows? Like if my manager from Iridium Sports Management calls me and tells me like we got the offer from the contender series, who am I to say no? But we'll see. We are right now. I just finished the vacation. I just back to training 2 days ago. Just got back to training after a little bit vacation.
Mm-hmm.
So we are starting to get the things back together, and I'm think in the next like 2 3 weeks we will have already we'll have a new news or something like that. We will be smarter, and the next fight will be already much like, we will know what the direction where we're heading to. You know
Excellent.
what I'm saying?
I do. And I really like the approach you're taking, because it really, what I got from you was when you said experience is the key. And I think that's similar to the approach Yuri Prohaska and Israel Adesanya took, because if you remember, if you've listened to the Rogan podcast, like Rogan has said famously, where Yuri actually even said they tried to get him before to come in, and he's like, no. He's like,
Yeah.
no. He's like, I'm gonna wait until I get the experience. And same with Izzy.
And
like,
also,
yeah.
look what he's done. Look what Yuri done. He's done only 2 fights in the UFC, and he got the title shot. Why is that? Because he made himself a big name outside of the UFC. So if you continue winning and you continue to be impressive fighter outside of the UFC, it still count inside the UFC. You got me?
Mhm.
So you can build up also outside of the UFC to build up your name. And then when you get to the UFC, also maybe you get a better contract because your name is bigger right now, or stuff like that. That's first. And the second one is like, experience is so important. It's not only in MMA, even if you go like my whole, I almost don't have experience in MMA. I literally have only 6 fights. But if you look at my history, I have tons of experience in wrestling my whole life. Like, competition is competition. It's nervous. It's hard. You don't know what will happen, and it's hard. Yeah, MMA is different because it's dangerous. It's much dangerous. It's all the stuff. But competition is competition. And once you wrestle, I don't know how many times, you get used to the nervous, to the nervous feeling of the competition, and it helps. I don't know how many times I wrestled so much. I've traveled the whole Europe for training camps, for competitions, 6 times to Russia for training camps, competitions, the whole world. Basically, I've traveled so much for competitions in the training camps in the whole world, and it helps. You get used to this pressure. You learn how to just to be okay with that. It helps. It helps. Every experience, it helps. Even I've done also a lot of competitions in BJJ. Not that much like in wrestling, but the second I started training in Luta Livre, I started to sign to the BJJ competitions immediately, and I'm competing in BJJ for 5 years almost, and I never stopped competing in wrestling. And I went for sambo competition also, just for the experience. So when you get used to the feeling of the competition, it helps a lot also in the MMA. And of course, the experience you get from fight to fight in mixed martial arts, it's very important.
Right. That's very true, and it's important that you're really getting that experience, because it makes you better, and you're trusting the process. Because the problem is, I think a lot of people that want to be pro fighters, they want to get that UFC brand in their record to say, look, I fought in the UFC. And then, are they really serious, or they just do, or are they gonna like just do
Listen,
one fight
Andrew,
to get
the question everyone need to ask themselves: what is your goal? What do you need? My goal is not to be a UFC fighter. Yeah, this is the like small goal. The first goal is to get into the UFC. But I'm not looking and not thinking about the small goal. I'm looking and thinking about the big goal, the big dream. And my big dream, my big goal is to be a UFC champion. And if I want to get there, I need to make sure I'm doing everything right, the right way. So if I want to be there, I need to get the experience in my record, because that's the only way. You cannot be a UFC champion if you don't have the experience. No way. So I need to make sure everything is done by the right way.
Very true. I wanted to ask too, because you're in the middleweight division, and that's my favorite division too. Actually, I love welterweight and middleweight. Now I love 205 because of what we saw, and I love how the belt's always changing hands, because it just shows.
Yari Prohaza is a crazy personality. I actually now reading the book he lived by, the Five Rings book. If
Yeah.
you heard about it, it's a book about the greatest samurai in Japan,
Mhm.
Musashi. It's called Musashi, and I started to read the book 1 month or 2 months before my fight, and it's really helped me a lot. I really, really, really recommend it for everyone who is doing or just a fan of mixed martial arts. I really recommend, also for everybody, like literally every person. If he reads this book, it gives him a lot. Like, it's called the Five Rings, the books of Five Rings. Musashi is the name of the samurai. It's the greatest samurai of all times in Japan. So this book is actually gave me a lot. I didn't finish it yet, but I'm reading it, and it's giving me a lot of experience and knowledge. Yeah.
That's amazing. So, and then to take it back to middleweight, I mean, I'm sure there's fighters you like watching. I wanted to ask you, I mean, like, we're all a fan of Israel Adesanya. We're all a fan of Robert Whitaker, and
I'm not
maybe
I'm not that big fan of Israel Adesanya. I do fan of him,
Mhm.
but I don't like he's a little bit disrespectful for me. I'm very, I think you should be very respectful in this sport.
Mhm.
You should be very respectful in your life, in everywhere, in everything you do, but especially in sport. And also, like, when you are a big athlete or sportsman in mixed martial arts, people looked up to you, kids look up to you, and you're example for kids, for people. And I do love the fighting style. I do know he's a good person, and he, like, in general, he's a nice guy and a good person. But I still don't like the small things. Sometimes he have disrespect things, but it's okay. I do like. But one of my favorites is Robert Whittaker. Robert Whittaker
Okay.
is my one of my favorites fighter of all time.
What about Gegard?
100%.
What about the Bellator middleweight champion, Gegard Mousasi? I'm sensing that you like him too.
I like him very much. He is a potential UFC champion for sure. My opinion, if he was staying in the UFC, he would definitely, like, be a contender or a UFC champion.
I,
100%.
I think he just got the timing of everything didn't work out because GSP came back. They needed like a big
Yeah.
name. Connor was fighting Floyd, so things just didn't work out in Gegard's favor. But I always call Gegard. Okay, I like to use the comic book analogy for Gegard and Izzy. Izzy, what Izzy is, he's Marvel for MMA because everybody
Yeah.
loves Marvel. And if you're and Gegard Mousasi is the Batman of MMA. He's the Dark
Yeah.
Knight. It's not.
He's the dark horse. Yeah. 100%.
And I say
100%.
that as a compliment because I know his manager
You
very
know,
well.
Gegard
So
Mousasi is first of all, he's a very good example. He's a nice person. He's
Mhm.
always respectful, but he's a very complete fighter. You don't see, he's a very good, like, striker, very good grappler. He's a complete fighter. And Adesanya is not that complete fighter. Like, if you watch the Adesanya Jan Blachowicz fight,
There are holes.
Adesanya have some holes. If you watch the first and second Whittaker fight with Adesanya, I think the second fight Whittaker won the fight. I've got it to Whittaker. I don't know. I really like Whittaker. Not, no offense, but I really got it to Whittaker the second fight.
I could agree with
But
that.
I'm not an MMA judge, so I will leave it to them.
Exactly. But I like the choices of middleweight fighter you like because they are the definition of what a good example is as a person in and out of the ring.
I like very like the style of Whittaker of the fighting style, and I also like think I'm gonna have sort of kind of a similar fight style because he's a very good wrestler. He have a good boxing. I think this is the two very important skills, and he also very good on his jiu-jitsu, on the grappling. And he doesn't like to kick a lot. He's kicking when he need to kick. So I really like his style. He's one of my favorite fighters, no doubt. Like, I look up to him.
That's amazing. No, he's definitely an example.
One day I hope I fight him. One day.
One day, hey, it's gonna happen.
it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. I'm telling you, one day. Yeah, this will be a dream for me. To
And
fight Whitaker. This will be like mind blowing for me.
and how do you feel about like when it comes to Habib, like obviously it's like the way I look at it is like you're either a Conor fan or a Habib fan, and I equate that to Biggie and Tupac of rap. You like one
Yeah,
only for a while, but then eventually you learn to appreciate both for what they've given to the sport.
yeah, definitely, 100%. I'm more a Khabib guy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more favorite of Khabib. Both of them have their like minus, like the bad things in them, and of course they have a lot of good things in them. Like you cannot take the things Conor give to the sport, and you cannot take the things Habib give to the sport, but you also cannot take the disrespect that both of them done actually. Like either Conor with his talking bullshit all day, and either Habib with him jumping on outside of the cage and start like the whole stuff. And Habib have also another bad things he's doing. Like he's a person. All of them, they're like, in the end of the day, it's people. It's people. It doesn't matter they're champions and all this stuff. But you have like people like GSP, Robert Whittaker, people like that. They don't do like they're very straight people. Like I do really like this kind of fighters. I'm doing my best to be this kind of fighter. Always respect, always give a good example
Mm-hmm.
for the other people, for the kids. And you have the other side is Connor, Adesanya. You have this side also. It's business in the end. It's showtime. I can understand this, but you need to have red lines, let's call it red
Mm-hmm.
lines, and this red lines shouldn't be overextend. And we should always remember this is a sport, and we need to keep it that way and to be respectful. That's my opinion.
I agree with you. I think it's a very, very valid point, and I like the two examples you used in GSP and Whitaker. Just keep it straight. Like whenever Whitaker, George, especially Whitaker, because he's a current fighter. George is retired now,
Yeah,
so he could say what he wants. But Whitaker is like, if you ever watch his interviews, very casual,
yeah,
doesn't have an ounce of hatred. Just like,
yeah.
yeah.
Look, I think people can also to get like to love this kind of fighter, and also because they love the personality of him. They see the good man of him, and they love it because they're a good person. It's just giving you a good example. And also they show like, I don't think it's showtime, yeah, but it's not showtime with speaking outside of the cage. It's showtime inside the cage. You should do
Mhm.
your show business, your showtime inside the cage. That's 100%. If you give your best show inside the cage, people gonna love you. If you're talking, you have a lot of examples. For example, Sean O'Malley. I hate this guy.
Me
He's
too.
speaking, he's speaking so much bullshit, and then he comes to the cage and he's most of the time fighting. I'm sorry, but fighters not in his level. And when he fights someone his level or some good fighters like Chito Vera, they just demolish him and kill him. So I don't speak a lot and don't perform like bullshit. You better shut up your mouth and perform good, and people will like you. I
That's
understand
very
the
true.
business and all the stuff, but I do prefer to do the business and the show inside the cage and to
Mm-hmm.
be sportsman, like respectful man.
Mm-hmm. Very true. So where does the origin of the Israeli tank name come from? Who gave you that name?
Ooh, it's a good story, bro. Bruno Tank Mendes,
Uh,
the older brother of the Tanquinho, is the ADC world champion.
thinking.
Mendes brothers, Mendes.
Okay.
So he is the foundation of the Soul Fighters. If you know Soul Fighters BJJ, he's the head of the Soul Fighters. So he was in our gym in seminar. He hosted in our gym. He like our gym is the Soul Fighters BJJ. So he was in our gym, and then like his name is Tank. His name is because he's small and he's like
He's big. He's
Uh,
stocky. He's very stocky. Yeah.
yeah, he's very short and stocky. Yeah. So his nickname is Tank also, but he's done only BJJ. So I came to him after the class and I felt like, thank you very much for the class. Tank. I called him Tank. And he said, no, you the Israeli Tank. Like he looked at me and I said, wow, that's actually a good nickname. And from that, I took this one. It sounds great, Israeli Tank.
It fits you perfectly. Like when I saw it, I was like on your profile, I was like, oh, this is gonna be sick. I like that. That's a good story, man. So
Yeah,
what is the goal? So now you're 6-0. You won your last fight versus Marius, who ironically
yeah,
I watched fight in Canada. Very good fighter too, like from Winnipeg, from Manitoba. And
yeah.
it was a good test, I
The,
can
the fight,
imagine.
the whole fight experience was insane. It's crazy experience. The whole like it was my first fight in outside of Israel,
Mhm.
and like it was so many people didn't believe in me because even my coaches they've told me like they've told me like, listen, this is a bad fight to take. He's a dangerous fighter. He's 1 second from the UFC. He have more experience than you. You don't have enough experience. Even my coaches told me like it's a bad fight to take. He's dangerous. He's a fucking killer. He will be in the UFC in the next like a very next future. And even my coaches like told me not to take this fight. And my manager, we had the fight with KB Bachler. I don't know
Mhm.
if you know. The first opponent supposed to be KB Bachler, and he's pulled out because of injury.
Mhm.
And then we start to look for another opponent, and we ran out of options. And then my manager, he told me like, it's only Morez. You need to decide. It's right now. You're going for to fight Morez, or you are not fighting at all in this event. And I've done so hard the whole training camp and the whole. I went so hard for this fight, trained so hard, gave my everything, and I felt so good, so prepared. And I said, why should I miss this opportunity? In this sport, you don't have a lot of opportunities because, okay, let's say I didn't take this fight, then I start a new training camp for next fight, then I get injured, and I'm sitting for another half year injured, and then I'm not fighting. And before that, it was COVID, so I didn't have fight for something like a year. I didn't fight before this fight, so if I get injured, I'm now 1 year and a half didn't fight, and it's problem. So I decided like I'm in best shape of my life. I feel good. I made a good hard preparation. I don't care. This guy's a fucking killer. I'm a better killer. I'm a better fighter. Let's go. I believed in myself. I literally believed in myself. No one believed in me. A lot of people said to me, "You're fucking crazy. You're gonna get your ass knockout." But I said, hell no, I'm gonna shock the world. I'm gonna show everybody what I'm made of. And I think I've done it. Tell me if not, you can correct me. But I think I believed in myself and I show it to the world what I'm worth of. What I'm made of. I've shown it. I just showed inside the cage, just the way I know.
That's amazing. So you beat him. Now you know you're gonna take your time to. You said you want to get some more experience. So I know
Yeah.
you said earlier, who am I to judge? Who am I to say like if I get that call that says, hey, we got the contender contractor, hey, short notice. But if any new fights come along, like to like just help build your experience, are you gonna take that too, just to keep you active?
Yeah, I want to stay very active. Like I want to stay very active. I have no big injuries or something like that. My body feels amazing. Already back to training. So I want to stay very active. I hope we're gonna fight again in September.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm aiming for. Let's see. The work right now is for my management. My agent Lance. He's doing a great work. He's done amazing work. So right now it is on him. I trust him. He's doing his job, and we'll see what the options. We'll see what the options. Maybe a unified title in Canada again. It is an option in unified in Canada. Big fight, title fight. It can be an option. It is like Sonny, the owner of the Unified MMA.
Mhm.
So we spoke about it. He was really hyped of my fight. He saw my fight, of course, and he was like, "Man, what you've done there, it's nuts, it's crazy." And he told me like, "I want you to fight for the belt." But we'll see. It's right now we check the options, and we'll see where we're heading to.
Excellent. I guess we'll leave it here because because the path is yet, because you're still writing your story. So Eli, where can people connect with you if they ever want to like follow you on your journey on social media?
They can find me on Instagram, Eli. It's my name is actually not Eli. All
Oh,
day
Eli, my bad. I'm sorry about that.
Canada Americans always said it's okay. I'm not blaming you. It's not Eli. It's Eli. Eli Aronov. It's ELIARONOV 51. No distance between the letters. Just like that. ELIARONOV 51. That's all. You can find me on Instagram. You can send me a DM. I will answer any question you have, of course. And it's my pleasure and it's my honor to be here and to share my experience. To share my all my experience, knowledge, uh, my like my way to becoming a UFC champion one day.
Yeah,
It's
that's the
my
thing.
honor.
It's one day. One day it's gonna happen. So
It's gonna happen 100%.
oh yeah.
I can see it. Like, I know I will wake up and tomorrow and will be sun outside, so I can see the same that I'm gonna be with the UFC belt on my belly. Is I can see the same.
Exactly. Well, once again, I really want to thank you for coming on the show. I got to thank David Alverdian. I also want to give a shout out to
Yeah,
another podcast that you should go on, is AC Radio with my friend Adam Kaplan, who David was on as well.
it
Adam is
will be
from
my honor.
Montreal. I'm gonna put the word into Adam for you. I think
Thank
you
you very
guys would.
much.
I think you guys would connect like this. Like he's also fellow. I guess because okay. So if I think if you're Jewish, we say tribesmen because we're tribal.
Yeah,
So he's a fellow tribesman. So shout out to AC Radio and Adam Kaplan. Does a great job in podcasting too.
amazing.
But I think like we want to. I think honestly, like my goal for me for me would be like to get you with like the right to help you to not help. I want to help grow. Like I mean, I don't want anything in return. I want to get you also because the more people see that there is an Israeli fighter, it gives the Jewish community hope that they can be a fighter too. And then we're growing that.
Yeah,
So
100%. That's my ultimate goal. Like, my ultimate goal is to represent Israel with respect, with honor, and to give inspiration to kids and people to just be a better person of themselves in their life. No one is have to be a fighter, an MMA fighter. Just be a fighter in your life. Do wake up when you need to wake up. Do your fights, win your fights in your life. Either it's waking up early, either it's going to work, either it's do a good education for your kids. Just be a better person, a better fighter in your life, the way you are. That's my ultimate goal, just to make the world better and to represent Israel and show the beautiful of Israel, because sometimes in the media, in the news, Israel is like all the politics bullshit stuff. No, we have a good people, we have a good respectful people, and that's what I want to represent. And I will represent with a lot of honor and respect, of course. That's
amazing.
my goal.
Amazing. Well, thanks once again for coming on the Drewsperience. And
Thank you
everyone,
very much, Andrew. I appreciate it.
oh, thank you. Make sure to follow him at Eli Aronov
Thank you
51.
very much.
And make sure to hit the like, share, subscribe button to the Drewsperience. All our supporters mentioned, especially the one at the end of AC Radio. They're growing. We're a
Thank you very
community.
much,
We all
brother. I
grow
appreciate it.
together.
We grow together. I appreciate it, brother. Thank you very, very much.
Thank
Thank you for
you.
your time.